Hi, welcome back to High on Utah. It's Heather Groom, and I just want to do a new segment today. I'm excited to be here. I get a lot of questions. A lot of people, after they watching my podcast, they'll send me messages. So I printed off some of them, and I thought what we'll do is we'll start a new segment where we just start answering some of your questions. And so today we're going to group a few together just specifically for first time homebuyers. And I'm going to use my old lady glasses here and read some of your questions. So let's just jump right on into it. So if you're a first time homebuyer in Utah, let's talk about those questions that you might have. So let's go from there. So probably one of the top questions I receive is, how much should I save for a down payment on my first home? Which is a great question because years ago, a lot of people talked about 20% and wanting 20% down. 20% is still a great number because you can avoid what we call mortgage insurance. And that's just an extra fee per month because you're borrowing more money. You have less money to put down. And so the bank is taking a little more of a risk on you. And so, not that mortgage insurance is necessarily a bad thing. I think my own personal views have changed on mortgage insurance because oftentimes it's better to get into the house because the appreciation will take off faster than the cost of the extra bit in your monthly payment. So I first want to basically answer that question by saying we've changed a lot in the last few years. So the 20% is not necessary. So when people ask me and they'll say, how much should I save for a down payment on my first home? A lot of times it just depends. It depends on what you have. It depends on how long you think you may stay in the home. There would be certain things that I would suggest. But typically, if you look at the market appreciation, you're better off to pay that mortgage insurance fee and get into the house now than wait because the market will outpace you at some point, and then prices also will go up. Right now, I would just say that costs for of home right now, our purchase prices are actually pretty low, and so right now is a great time to get in if you're a first time home buyer because you don't have all of the competition. So let me give you the reasons why right now is the best time to buy if you're a first time home buyer. You don't have the same competition like you normally would in a market that's busier. And so you're going to have less competition. You're going to have sellers that are more likely to work with you. Oftentimes, I'm able to negotiate in concessions. So the sellers will oftentimes not only do they pay me as your realtor, which I know sounds funny. A lot of times you can get in, most people don't realize that you can have an agent represent you. And the sellers will oftentimes pay, in fact, almost every time right now, they'll pay both realtor fees. They'll also, in addition, right now in this current market, a lot of times they'll pay your closing costs. Not all of them, but I will see anywhere from maybe $3,000 credit up to $15,000 credit towards costs, down payment assistance, sometimes a buy down. So there's a lot of ways that we can be creative in writing an offer. So the bottom line is if you're a first time home buyer and if you are waiting to buy because you think you don't have enough down payment, that is not a great place to be. You need to give me a call and we need to talk about if buying a home is right for you right now. I would say when I talk to first time home buyers, about 80% of the time, they actually qualify. They don't even realize that they do qualify, but there are other programs out there. We have FHA loans. We have, depending if you're a veteran, there's different incentives and even first time home buyer grants in the state of Utah also are popular. So we have other programs. So don't get hung up on the down payment or what you need to bring in, to the mortgage. Because let's talk about it first, because oftentimes that money may help you in a different area. If you've been saving, let's talk about what makes sense. So I think people wait too long. When somebody says, what is a mistake a first time home buyer makes? It's that they wait too long to talk with a real estate professional and also a mortgage professional. So give me a call and let's talk about your scenario. Let's see what you have available and let's see what other programs are available for you. So when you ask about how much to save for a down payment, I would say don't worry about the 20%. That's kind of a thing of the past. It's not worth waiting around because it could take you a while to save up that 20%. And right now, there are programs that would greatly benefit you. So definitely give me a call because I have clients that have even been able to get loans for no money down at all, or even like sometimes 1%. It's great if you can get to 3.5%. That's a really great number as well. But there's different increments. So we can talk about that. So definitely don't let the down payment hold you back from buying. So let's talk about the next question. What are the best real estate investment strategies for beginners? So, what are the best real estate investment strategies for beginners? I would say you need to start with your own home first. If you do not currently own a home, if you're renting, you need to definitely buy yourself a home. I always say invest in yourself and then in others and then in other properties. So let's find you something that works, whether it's a condo, maybe it's a condominium, maybe it's a townhome, maybe it's a small single family. But there are definitely products out there for you. And most people are surprised at, they hear how expensive homes are in the Salt Lake City area. They hear how expensive it is in Lehigh specifically. They may, ask about Utah County. But there are different programs for different areas. And again, let's find you something that works. But I'm confident I can find you a product that works in your budget. So, first, you would want to buy your own property. And then, what is surprising to a lot of people is it seems like a big payment at first. But then, as they get into the payment and maybe their job, maybe they get some raises, they get more comfortable with the payment. They've moved from being a renter to purchasing. But after that, they're able to then invest in another property. So I've have several younger couples that are under 30 years old that now have two homes. Something that I think back in my day, that was mind blowing. But now there are people that we're able to find them a rental property and we are able to help them, make that mortgage payment and they're also growing their wealth portfolio. So they're growing their wealth portfolio, their assets. And what's really amazing is when you have your own property that's increasing in value, you're gaining equity, but then also when you have an investment property that's gaining as well. And so most people are surprised at how fast they can grow their net worth through real estate. I've helped many first-time home buyers not just purchase their first home, but also their second home, their third home, sometimes investment properties as well. So definitely give me a call about that. And again, let's get a plan together. So let's go to the next question. So here's the third question. I get a lot of questions around house hacking. So I'm going to put it all in one question. What is house hacking and how can I house hack? Also, what are the advantages of house hacking? So, people wonder what is house hacking? House hacking is when you purchase the home, but you're able to rent out part of the home as well. So, for example, my own kids, they bought a home down in Provo a few years ago, and then they rented out the upstairs apartment, and they were able to subsidize their mortgage with that rental income. And so, with having that rental income, they were also able to feel a little bit better about their payment at the time. So, house hacking is when you're purchasing a home, but you intend to not just occupy it, but also rent it. I see a lot of times, maybe students or young professionals, that they'll buy a home, they'll live in one of the rooms, and then they'll also rent out to friends as well. So, they'll have friends living in the home or roommates. And I've even seen situations where they actually don't pay any rent for themselves. They're able to have enough roommates renting the home with them, or maybe like an upstairs or downstairs apartment, that a lot of times they make they're putting almost none of their own money into the house payment because their renters are basically subsidizing that payment. And so house hacking is a great way to go, especially if you're a first time home buyer. Also, if you're possibly a student, or I have some young professionals that maybe work during the day and then they're going and doing a master's program or a advanced degree program, and they're able to again subsidize their mortgage, but then they're also getting the equity gains. They're getting tax write-offs as well. And so house hacking is a great way to go, if you're a student but earning money as well, because obviously you still have to qualify for a mortgage. But again, there's some real advantages to house hacking. I get a lot of questions around house hacking in Provo, Utah, as well as Lehi, because in Lehi it's known as kind of Silicon Slopes, a tech area as well. And so people are interested in living in those areas, Lehi specifically, because they can commute south to South Utah County, Provo, Orem, as well as commute to downtown Salt Lake. And so it's a great location for people. And so I do a lot of work in Lehi. I've lived in Lehi and Highland, Utah for almost 30 years. Actually, I think it's been 30 years now. So definitely those areas are hot for house hacking. Some of the other areas that are hot for house hacking are Mill Creek, also Davis County, specifically Bountiful. I've had some people in that area as well. Again, also anytime there's schools. So if you're near the University of Utah or Utah Valley University, Utah State, some of the other universities, even down in southern Utah, near Utah Tech, there's different opportunities. And especially if you have, if you're thinking about you're in school, but maybe you're working and you want to subsidize that payment, that's a great way to go. And it's not just for students. I think also whether you're young professional, newlyweds, there's great opportunities there as well. So house hacking has become popular. And the other thing I should mention about house hacking is a lot of times if you have other people subsidizing, you have lease agreements, you can use part of the income from the lease agreements if you're applying for another home. So some people, what they'll do is they'll use some of that income that they're receiving on their lease agreements while they're house hacking, and then they can show the bank how profitable they're being, or at least that they're subsidizing their mortgage, and then they're buying a second property as well. And the other rule around that is they can move every 2 years and not pay capital gains. And so a lot of times, you could live in the home 2 years and then buy a new primary residence in 2 years. So I have clients that, especially while they're young marrieds, they will buy and then they plan to move every 2 years, and they'll keep that first home as a rental property, and then they'll do the same thing with house number two, and eventually with house number three. So it's a great way to really blow up your equity gains. Also, just grow your net worth, and people are very surprised at how fast that happens. So definitely give me a call if you're looking into house hacking. So great question on that. And then also, I get a lot of questions around what are the tax benefits of owning real estate? This is a great question. Um, Most people don't realize there are so many ways that we can save money on taxes. One thing people are not talking about right now is about the big, beautiful bill that was passed not very long ago. We call it the Triple B. It's a big bill, and a lot of people don't realize what all's in there. But there are some definite tax strategies with real estate, especially if you're looking at purchasing Airbnbs or doing some kind of short term rental. Definitely give me a call. I don't want to go into too much detail on that, but there are tax strategies around having investment properties. And those are newer. And so I think what's going to happen is you're going to want to get ahead of the game on this, because I think most people are going to find out about this in about April when they do their taxes. And then their accountant, if their accountant is savvy and looks into real estate, they're going to say, hey, there are some real tax advantages to owning homes, and even more so right now. And so, definitely, this is a great time. There's a lot of tax incentives around real estate right now, and accelerated depreciation, cost segregation. Those are tools that we've talked about on other podcasts. And definitely call me about that and we can talk about it. But what most people don't realize, and I usually hear this from clients, is they'll say, wow, I had no idea. And this is going to help me tremendously on my taxes, or just getting ahead as well. So even if, again, that might be more of an investor question, but a lot of times I'm really impressed with my younger clientele that are first time home buyers, because in my day, we didn't ever think we would ever own a second home. Like, that never even crossed my mind to have really an investment property. Or I thought it would be so hard to get. And once I got into purchasing properties, it was actually far easier than I had anticipated. And it's what grew our net worth exponentially as well. And so if you're looking to grow your net worth to also get passive income, even if you're a first time home buyer, I want you to be thinking about that, because real estate is not just a one-time investment. That's what a lot of people used to do, maybe back in the 70s, 80s, maybe your parents, your grandparents. They've had one house, they worked to pay it off, they paid it off, they maybe still live in it. But that was kind of a different day. What I'm finding with some of my younger clients is they're okay to move more often. As long as they're making money, basically. They're saying, hey, you know what? Help me formulate a strategy. And so that's what I love. It actually is so rewarding for me, because I think of how different my life would have been if I would have had a really great mentor in real estate investing earlier. And that's what I am to my clients. I'm a mentor for you. I'm cheering for you. I know how to do this because I've done it. And so, because I've done it, I've been maybe a little coy about sharing this, but we right now have, I think we have 9 or 10 investment properties. And that's a lot, by the way. That's a little brain damage. I'm not gonna lie. It's a lot. But I also want you to know it's been the smartest thing we've ever done. And I'm not saying put everything in real estate. In fact, that's something that I'm a very conservative investor as well. And so it's really good to diversify. And so that's why I like to talk with you through your options, what your goals are in 5, 10 years, what you're looking at doing, where you're thinking of living. Even if you're thinking about living abroad, a lot of people ask me about that. Let's talk about it, because it's still wise to have something and have something growing for you while you can. And being an investor, there are different down payment scenarios that we need to talk through, because in investment property world, you do need larger down payments because it is more risky for the bank. And so, that makes sense. But we're going to talk about that. So that's why I want you to think about, when I talk about first time home buyer, I actually like to call you first time investor, because you're investing in yourself and you're investing in your future. So a first time home buyer is not just buying their first or their last home, they're buying their first investment property that helps them propel forward so that they can be on a great economic growth path. So I love these questions. So definitely send me more questions about this. Um, and again, another one is, what did we talk about? What are the best real estate investment strategies for beginners? I would say house hacking. I would say buying the right product. A lot of times we buy new construction. Most people don't realize that they can get a new construction home. Oftentimes, you can actually find a better deal on new construction. And I have amazing networks in new construction. I have great relationships there, to where usually my clients are saying, what's the catch? Because I'm getting an amazing brand new product that I don't have to renovate. I joke around about HGTV and say not everything is HGTV. You don't really necessarily want to be renovating the whole house. It's very time consuming, it's very expensive, it drains your cash. There's a reason why. I think that's losing its luster right now because in this market, construction is not cheap. It's very expensive. And so, paint and carpet, those are cheap. Those are very doable. They're easy, not difficult. Replacing appliances, pretty easy. But when you're talking about replacing an electric panel, totally different world. So you never know exactly what you're going to open up. Like in the case of my kids, they bought an older home, and a lot of times they would be fixing one problem, which then they would discover another problem, and then another problem, and then another. And so you really want to be careful when it comes to buying older homes, and that's why you need a real estate professional. I've built my own homes. I've been a general contractor on my own homes. I've done huge renovations on my homes, and investment properties as well. So I can tell you where to put the money that makes sense and where not to. I also can tell you what money you're going to get back. Recently, I just helped a client. They had an older condo, and she, it was older. It needed a renovation, and we were really clever. And I said, look, what this really needs is new paint and carpet. And a lot of people right now, they are cash sensitive, is what I call it. And they don't want to put more cash in when they buy a product or a home. And so if you do it for them, it's going to sell easier. We probably, by the time what we put into flooring, we did some LVP also. By the time we look at the cost of the flooring and the paint, we were able to get probably a 3x to 5x return on that. 3 times to 5 times return on doing the carpet and paint for someone else. And so again, I can talk with you about where to put the money, where not to, which house is better, if it's a, older home, if it's not. But those things are going to matter. It matters what you buy as well. So great questions on those. Let me see if there's anything else in here for first time home buyer. I think that's pretty much it for today. But if you have questions and you are a first time home buyer, if you're looking in a certain city or a county in the state of Utah, if you're looking at Salt Lake County, Davis County, Washington County, Utah County, all of those counties are areas that I service. We also do even rural areas as well. I have great partner agents and support, but we want to make sure you're making the best decision for you. I would say most of the time, first time home buyers get very overwhelmed and they don't realize all of the services that are open to them. I wish I would have known that when I was buying my first home. And, I feel like we just didn't know what we didn't know. And that's why you have a real estate professional. And especially if you're a buyer right now, usually can have the sellers cover my cost. And so typically you're paying absolutely nothing to have an agent on your side. And it matters, even with new construction. I'm oftentimes able to get my clients better deals on new construction than if you were to walk into the model home by yourself because I have those relationships with those builders. And so I'm able to help you there as well. Plus, I do give you a little credit. If you're a first time home buyer, I'm starting a program where I'm giving you an appliance credit. Where I help you buy your fridge or possibly your washer dryers, whatever you would need. But I'm giving you credit at RC Willie, and for those because I do know it's hard to save up and buy those appliances once you do move in because you've been saving up for your down payment and closing costs. So give me a call if you're a first time home buyer in the state of Utah. I'd love to help you out. Love to talk with you more about it. And thanks for tuning in.